Have you ever wondered what would happen if your worst embarrassment turned into the best thing that ever happened to you? Imagine this: a quiet bookstore employee named Lily, hands trembling as she watches hot coffee soak through the crisp white shirt of the most handsome man she's ever seen. His eyes, startlingly blue, meet hers not with anger but with interest. 2 weeks later, she's sitting across from him in a private room above the cafe she's visited for years, discovering he owns not just the building, but a real estate empire spanning 3 continents. "I've been watching you," he says, sliding a contract across the mahogany table. "I want to offer you something that could change both our lives. Before we carry on, please hit the subscribe button to make my day, and let me know where you are watching from in the comments." The morning that changed everything started like any other for Lily Chen. She woke to the persistent beeping of her alarm clock, its glowing numbers reading 6 a.m. in an otherwise dark room. Outside her window, the city was still wrapped in that peculiar pre-dawn glow, the streets quiet except for the occasional delivery truck rumbling past her apartment building. Lily stretched and reluctantly pulled herself from the warm cocoon of her blankets. Her studio apartment was small but cozy, filled with books and plants that made the space feel like home. She moved through her morning routine on autopilot, brushing her teeth while her mind wandered to the day ahead. Another shift at Cornerstone Books. Another day of helping customers find their next favorite read, while hiding behind the protective shield of her long dark hair and oversized sweaters. Social anxiety had been Lily's constant companion since childhood. At 26, she had learned to manage it well enough to hold down her job at the bookstore, but it still left her feeling drained at the end of each day. The only bright spot in her routine was her morning visit to Café Lumière, a charming coffee shop she passed on her way to work. She dressed carefully in dark jeans and a soft gray sweater, swept her hair into a messy bun, and grabbed her worn messenger bag. After locking her apartment door, she descended the 4 flights of stairs, avoiding the elevator where she might be trapped with a chatty neighbor. The October air held a crisp bite that promised winter wasn't far off. Lily pulled her scarf tighter around her neck as she navigated the gradually awakening streets. By the time she reached Café Lumière, the morning rush was just beginning to build. The cafe was nestled between a vintage record store and a florist, its forest green awning and gold lettering giving it an air of timeless elegance. Through the large windows, Lily could see that it was already filling with the usual morning crowd: students with laptops, business people grabbing coffee before heading to their offices, and the occasional writer scribbling in pot notebooks. Taking a deep breath, Lily pushed open the door, the familiar scent of freshly ground coffee beans and baked goods enveloping her. The interior was warm and inviting, with exposed brick walls, wooden tables, and shelves lined with coffee beans from around the world. Soft jazz played in the background, barely audible over the hum of conversation and the hiss of the espresso machine. She joined the line, keeping her eyes fixed on the menu board hanging above the counter, though she knew exactly what she would order: medium vanilla latte, her daily indulgence. As the line moved forward, Lily began her ritual of mental preparation for the social interaction to come. She rehearsed her order in her head, determined not to stumble over her words. Behind the counter stood Maya, a barista with a perpetual smile who had been serving Lily her morning coffee for the past year. "Good morning, Lily," Maya called out as she approached. "The usual?" Lily nodded gratefully, relieved to skip the ordering part. "Yes, please," she managed, a small smile tugging at her lips. As Maya prepared her drink, Lily fumbled in her bag for her wallet, accidentally dropping it. When she bent to retrieve it, she noticed a pair of polished leather shoes in line behind her. Standing quickly, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment, she caught a glimpse of their owner, a tall man in an impeccably tailored charcoal suit. "Here you go," Maya said, sliding the steaming cup of coffee across the counter. "Have a great day." Lily paid and murmured a thank you, turning with her drink in hand. She was so focused on avoiding eye contact with the man behind her that she didn't notice someone stepping into her path. The collision was inevitable. Time seemed to slow as her coffee cup connected with the stranger's chest, the lid popping off upon impact. Hot coffee splashed across his pristine white shirt, creating a spreading brown stain. For a moment, Everyone in the cafe seemed to freeze, all eyes turning to the scene. Lily stood paralyzed in horror, her empty cup still clutched in her hand. She forced herself to look up at the victim of her clumsiness, and her heart sank further. It was the man in the charcoal suit, and up close, he was even more intimidating. Tall and broad-shouldered, with a strong jawline and piercing blue eyes that now regarded her with surprise. She grabbed napkins from a nearby dispenser and thrust them toward him, mortified beyond words. "I didn't see you. I wasn't paying attention. It's all right," the man said, his voice deep and surprisingly gentle. He accepted the napkins and dabbed ineffectually at his ruined shirt. Despite the situation, his expression remained calm, even slightly amused. Accidents happen. But Lily couldn't bear the weight of the stares from everyone in the cafe. Her anxiety spiraled, her chest tightening as her breath came in short gasps. "I'll pay for the dry cleaning," she blurted out, though she knew her tight budget could hardly afford such an expense. The man opened his mouth to respond, but Lily was already backing away toward the door. "I'm so sorry," she repeated, then turned and fled the cafe, leaving behind her messenger bag on the counter. Outside, she pressed her back against the cool brick wall of the building, trying to catch her breath. Tears stung her eyes as she replayed the humiliating scene in her mind. "Great," she thought bitterly. "Now I need to find a new coffee shop and a different route to work." After a few minutes of silent self-recrimination, she realized she'd left her bag behind. The thought of going back into the cafe made her stomach churn. But her keys, wallet, and the book she was currently reading were in that bag. She couldn't simply abandon it. Just as she was gathering the courage to re-enter Café Lumière, the door swung open, and Maya emerged, holding Lily's messenger bag. "You forgot this," Maya said kindly, handing it over. "And don't worry about what happened in there. Trust me, we've seen much worse." "Thank you," Lily whispered, clutching the bag to her chest. "What about him, Mr. Reynolds?" Maya raised an eyebrow. "He actually told me to give you this." She handed Lily a pristine business card. The card was simple but elegant, made of thick cream-colored paper, with only a name and phone number embossed in dark blue. Alexander Reynolds. Lily stared at it in confusion. "Why would he said to tell you not to worry about the shirt," Maya explained. "And that his office would call you soon about your offer to cover the dry cleaning." She gave Lily a curious look. "I didn't know you knew Mr. Reynolds." "I don't," Lily admitted. "Wait, do you know him?" Maya shrugged. "He comes in occasionally, usually very early or late in the day when it's quiet. Always polite, good tipper. That's all I know." She glanced at her watch. "I should get back inside. Are you okay?" Lily nodded, though she felt anything but okay. "Thanks again, Maya." As Maya returned to the cafe, Lily tucked the business card into her bag and began walking toward Cornerstone Books, her mind racing. How would his office call her when she hadn't given him her number? And why did the name Alexander Reynolds sound vaguely familiar? The rest of Lily's day passed in a blur of shelving books and assisting customers, though she couldn't shake the morning's embarrassment from her thoughts. By closing time, she had convinced herself that nothing would come of the incident. The business card was probably just a polite gesture, and she would never hear from Alexander Reynolds again. 2 days later, Lily was back at her small apartment, curled up on her second-hand sofa with a cup of tea, and her current read a historical fiction novel set in 1920s Paris, when her phone bell rang. The unknown number made her hesitate, but she finally answered. "Hello, is this Lily Chen?" a professional female voice inquired. "Yes, speaking," Lily replied cautiously. "This is Clara Davis, Mr. Reynolds' executive assistant. Mr. Reynolds would like to invite you to Café Lumière tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., if that's convenient for you." Lily nearly dropped her phone. When does he want to meet me?" "Regarding the incident from earlier this week," Clara explained smoothly. "He would like to discuss it in person. Would tomorrow work for your schedule?" Anxiety bubbled in Lily's chest. Was he going to demand payment for his expensive shirt after all? Had he discovered it was irreparably damaged? She considered declining, but curiosity and a strange sense of, obligation pushed her to accept. "Yes, that should be fine," she found herself saying. 9 a.m. at Café Lumiere. Excellent. Mr. Reynolds will meet you there. Good evening, Miss Chen. The line went dead, leaving Lily staring at her phone in disbelief. She spent the rest of the evening cycling through scenarios of what might happen, each more catastrophic than the last. By the time she crawled into bed, she had half convinced herself not to show up at all. But the next morning, driven by a sense of responsibility and an inexplicable curiosity about Alexander Reynolds, Lily found herself standing outside Café Lumiere at 7 a.m. She had taken extra care with her appearance, wearing a simple navy blue dress with a cardigan and minimal makeup, her long hair looser around her shoulders. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the door. The cafe was surprisingly quiet for a weekday morning. Only a few tables were occupied, and there was no line at the counter. Maya waved from behind the espresso machine, but before Lily could approach to order, a tall figure rose from a table in the corner. Alexander Reynolds was just as imposing as she remembered, though today he wore a navy suit instead of charcoal. His dark hair was neatly styled, and those piercing blue eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her want to look away. But she forced herself to meet his gaze as he approached. Ms. Chen, he greeted her, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. Lily shook his hand briefly, noting the firm grip and the warmth of his palm. Mr. Reynolds, I'm really sorry again about your shirt. I'm prepared to pay for the cleaning or replacement. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. That's not why I asked you here. He gestured toward the table he'd been sitting at. Would you join me for coffee? I've already ordered for us. I hope that's okay. Surprised, Lily followed him to the table, where 2 steaming cups awaited. How did you know what I drink? She asked, as she recognized her usual vanilla latte. Maya mentioned it was your regular order, he replied, taking his seat across from her. I hope that wasn't presumptuous. No, it's fine, Lily said, wrapping her hands around the warm cup. But I'm confused. If this isn't about the shirt, why did you want to meet me? Alexander took a sip of his coffee black, she noted before answering. I seen you here before, you know. You come in almost every morning around the same time, always order the same thing, and always seem to be in a hurry to leave. Lily shifted uncomfortably. You've been watching me? Not in a creepy way, he clarified quickly. I notice details. It's part of my job. He paused, studying her. Do you know who I am, Ms. Chen? She shook her head. Should I? Not necessarily. He seemed almost pleased by her answer. Most people in this neighborhood know the name Reynolds because of Reynolds Enterprises. We own several properties in this area, including this building. Lily's eyes widened. You own Café Lumiere? The building, he corrected. Maya runs the cafe as an independent business. I'm just her landlord, though I do have a particular fondness for this place. He glanced around the space appreciatively. It has character. Lily tried to process this information. So you're, what, a real estate mogul? Alexander laughed, the sound rich and warm. That makes me sound more exciting than I am. I'm a businessman. My father built Reynolds Enterprises from nothing, and I've been expanding it since I took over 5 years ago. He leaned forward slightly. But that's not why I wanted to talk to you either. Then why? Lily asked, her curiosity overcoming her usual reticence. Because of what you did after spilling coffee on me, he said simply. Most people would have made excuses or tried to blame someone else. You immediately took responsibility and offered to make it right, even though I could see how painfully uncomfortable the situation made you. He tilted his head, regarding her thoughtfully. That kind of integrity is rare, Ms. Chen. Lily looked down at her coffee, unsure how to respond to the unexpected compliment. It was my fault, she said finally. Of course I would take responsibility. And that, Alexander said, is why I have a proposition for you. Before he could continue, Maya appeared at their table with a small plate of pastries. On the house, she said with a smile before returning to the counter. Thank you, Maya, Alexander called after her. He turned back to Lily. Try the chocolate croissant. It's excellent. Lily hesitantly took one of the pastries but didn't bite into it. What kind of proposition? she asked, suddenly wary. A job offer, he replied. My personal assistant, Claire. You spoke with her on the Feeney's leaving next month to have her first child. I need someone to replace her, someone detail-oriented, responsible, and discreet. Lily nearly choked on air. You want me to be your assistant? But you don't know anything about me. I could be completely unqualified. I know more than you think, Alexander said calmly. Lily Chen, 26, graduated with honors from the State University with a degree in English literature. Currently employed at Cornerstone Books for the past 3 years. Lives alone, pays rent on time, no criminal record. He smiled at her shocked expression. As I said, I've had my eye on you. That's... Lily struggled to find the right word. Invasive. It's due diligence, he countered. I wouldn't offer you a position without basic background research. But what the research can't tell me, what I saw firsthand, is your character. He leaned back in his chair. The position pays twice what you make at the bookstore, includes health benefits, and would require you to work closely with me on various projects. You'd need to sign an NDA, of course. Lily's mind reeled. The offer was tempting from a financial standpoint. Her bookstore salary barely covered her expenses, but the thought of working directly for this intimidating man made her anxiety spike. I don't understand why you'd want someone like me, she said honestly. I'm not exactly confident. I get nervous talking to people. I spilled coffee all over you, for heaven's sake. Alexander's expression softened. Confidence can be developed, Ms. Chen. Intelligence, integrity, and attention to detail are much harder to teach. He reached into his jacket and produced a business card, different from the one Maya had given her. This one had more information. His title is CEO of Reynolds Enterprises, an email address, and a different phone number. Think about it. You don't need to decide right now. Lily accepted the card, turning it over in her fingers. This is very unexpected. The best opportunities often are, he replied, checking his watch. I have a meeting I need to get to, but Maya will give you a tour of the cafe's upper floor. My private office is there, where you'd be working if you accept. He stood, straightening his suit jacket. Call Clara when you've made your decision. I hope it's yes. With that, he nodded politely and left, leaving Lily staring after him in bewilderment. Before she could collect her thoughts, Maya appeared again. Ready for the tour? She asked brightly. You knew about this? You knew about this? Lily asked, rising from her chair. Maya nodded. Mr. Reynolds mentioned it yesterday. He asked me when I thought of you. She smiled reassuringly. I gave you a glowing recommendation, if that helps. Still dazed, Lily followed Maya to a door marked Private at the back of the cafe. Maya unlocked it, revealing a staircase leading to the second floor. The whole building used to be a single residence back in the 1920 SS. Maya explained as they climbed the stairs. The cafe level was converted in the 1950s, but the upper floor still has a lot of the original details. The staircase opened into a spacious reception area with hardwood floors, crown molding, and large windows that filled the space with natural light. A sleek desk positioned near the staircase presumably belonged to Clara, the soon-to-be departing assistant. This is where you'd be stationed, Maya said, gesturing to the desk. And through there is Mr. Reynolds' office. She pointed to a set of double doors on the far wall. Does he work here often? Lily asked, trying to imagine herself in this elegant space. 3 or 4 days a week, usually, Maya replied. His main office is at Reynolds Tower downtown, but he prefers it here for creative work and private meetings. Says the atmosphere helps him think. She led Lily to a small kitchenette tucked discreetly in one corner. There's always fresh coffee and snacks. The bathroom is through that door, and this. She opened another door to reveal a cozy room with bookshelves and a comfortable-looking sofa. Is the library. Mr. Reynolds sometimes takes breaks here. Lily ran her fingers along the spines of the books, noting with approval the eclectic mix of classic literature, contemporary fiction, and business texts. It's beautiful, she murmured. The whole place is, Maya agreed. And Mr. Reynolds is a good boss. Demanding, sure, but fair. He expects excellence, but gives the same in return. She studied Lily's face. You're considering it, aren't you? I don't know, Lily admitted. It's such a huge change. And I barely know him. If it helps, Maya said, I've been running this cafe for 5 years, and Mr. Reynolds has been nothing but supportive. When business was slow during the pandemic, he suspended my rent payments until things picked up again. Never asked for back payment either. She smiled fondly. He acts all businesslike, but there's a good heart under those expensive suits. As they walked back downstairs, Lily's mind was spinning with possibilities. The job would be challenging, far outside her comfort zone. But maybe that was exactly what she needed. And the salary increase would make a significant difference in her life. Thanks for the tour, she said to Maya as they reached the cafe level. No problem, Maya replied. And Lily? For what it's worth, I think he'd be great at the job. Just something to consider. Over the next few days, Lily couldn't stop thinking about Alexander Reynolds' offer. She went through her shifts at Cornerstone Books mechanically, her mind constantly returning to the elegant upstairs office and the enigmatic businessman who wanted to hire her. On the third evening, she finally worked up the courage to call the number on the card. Clara answered on the second ring, her professional tone immediately making Lily feel inadequate. Reynolds Enterprises, Clara Davis speaking. Hello. This is Lily Chen, she began hesitantly. Mr. Reynolds asked me to call regarding the assistant position. Ms. Chen. Clara's voice warmed slightly. I've been expecting your call. Have you made a decision? Lily took a deep breath. I have some questions first, if that's okay. Of course. I'd be happy to answer them. For the next 20 minutes, Clara patiently explained the job responsibilities, which ranged from managing Alexander's schedule and correspondence to assisting with research for potential property acquisitions and occasionally traveling with him for business meetings. The more Lily learned, the more she realized how challenging and potentially rewarding the position could be. It sounds intense, she admitted. It is, Clara confirmed. But it's also incredibly rewarding. You'll learn more in a year with Alexander than you would in 5 years anywhere else. There was a smile in her voice as she added, and despite his intimidating exterior, he's actually quite kind when you get to know him. After ending the call with a promise to give her final answer the next day, Lily sat on her sofa, weighing her options. The safe choice would be to stay at the bookstore, where she was comfortable and knew what to expect. The braver choice would be to take a leap of faith on this unexpected opportunity. In the end, it wasn't the money or benefits that decided her, but the realization that she had been hiding behind her anxiety for too long. Perhaps it was time to step out of her comfort zone. The next morning, she called Clara again. I'd like to accept the position, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. That's wonderful news, Clara replied. Can you come to Reynolds Tower tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to sign the paperwork and begin your training? Lily agreed, and after hanging up, she promptly submitted her 2 weeks' notice at Cornerstone Books. Her manager, Mrs. Harrison, was surprised but supportive. You've been a wonderful employee, Lily, but I've always thought you were capable of more, the older woman said kindly. This sounds like a wonderful opportunity. The following day, Lily stood in front of Reynolds Tower, a gleaming 40-story building in the heart of downtown. She had dressed carefully in her most professional outfit, a simple black dress with a blazer she'd purchased specially for the occasion. Her hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail, and she wore minimal makeup, wanting to appear competent and serious. The security guard at the front desk directed her to the executive elevator, which whisked her directly to the 40th floor. The doors opened to reveal a reception area decorated in a tasteful palette of cream, navy, and gold colors that reminded her of Alexander's business card. A striking woman in her late 30s rose from behind the reception desk. Ms. Chen? I'm Clara Davis. Welcome to Reynolds Enterprises. Clara led Lily through a series of corridors to her office, explaining various departments and introducing key staff members along the way. Finally, they arrived at a large corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows, offering a breathtaking view of the city. This is Alexander's main office, Clara explained. Yours is right next door. She opened a connecting door to reveal a smaller but still impressive office. You'll have direct access to his office, but don't worry, there's a signaling system to let you know when he's available. The next few hours passed in a whirlwind of paperwork, system orientations, and introductions. By lunchtime, Lily's head was swimming with new information. "You're doing wonderfully," Clara assured her, as they sat in the executive dining room, a sleek space reserved for upper management. "It's a lot to take in all at once, I know." "It is," Lily admitted, "but it's also exciting." To her surprise, she meant it. Despite the overwhelming nature of the morning, she felt a spark of enthusiasm about the challenges ahead. After lunch, Clara led her to Alexander's office. "He wants to speak with you briefly, before we continue with training." Lily's stomach tightened with nervousness as Clara knocked on the door. "Come in," Alexander's deep voice called from within. Clara opened the door and ushered Lily inside. "Ms. A. Chen is here, sir." Alexander was seated behind an imposing desk, his attention focused on the computer screen in front of him. He looked up and smiled as they entered, rising to his feet. Today he wore a light gray suit that complemented his eyes. "Thank you, Clara," he said. "How is the training going?" "Very well, sir." "Ms. Chen is a quick learner. I expected nothing less." He gestured to the chairs in front of his desk. "Please, have a seat, Ms. Chen. Clara, would you give us a moment?" Clara nodded and left, closing the door behind her. Lily perched nervously on the edge of one of the chairs, her hands folded in her lap. "So," Alexander said, sitting back down, "how are you finding your first day?" "It's a lot," Lily answered honestly, "but interesting." "Clara is very thorough." He nodded. "She's excellent at her job. You have big shoes to fill, but I'm confident you're up to the task." He studied her for a moment. "Are you still wondering why I chose you for this position?" Lily blinked, surprised by his directness. "Yes, actually." Alexander leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "I've built my business on my ability to recognize potential, whether in properties or in people. When I saw you in the cafe, not just on the day of our coffee encounter, but on previous mornings, I noticed someone who pays attention to details, who treats others with kindness, and who clearly has intelligence simmering beneath the surface." He smiled slightly. "The coffee incident just gave me an excuse to approach you." Lily wasn't sure how to respond to this assessment. "I'm not as confident as Clara," she said finally. "I'm not sure I can be what you're looking for." "I'm not looking for another Clara," Alexander replied. "I'm looking for someone who brings their own strengths to the position." He leaned back in his chair. "Your undergraduate thesis on the evolution of female protagonists in Victorian literature was quite impressive, by the way." Lily's jaw dropped. "You read my thesis?" "I like to be thorough," he said with a shrug. "It showed analytical skills, attention to historical context, and a strong writing style. All qualities that will serve you well here." She shook her head in disbelief. "Most people would consider that level of research excessive." "I'm not most people, Ms. Chen," he replied, a hint of amusement in his eyes. "Now, do you have any questions for me before you return to Clara for the rest of your training?" Lily hesitated, then decided to be direct. "Just one. What exactly do you expect from me in this role?" "Beyond the job description, I mean." Alexander nodded approvingly. "A good question. I expect loyalty, discretion, and honesty. If you make a mistake, tell me immediately so we can fix it. If you disagree with something I say or do, tell me that too in private, of course. I don't surround myself with yes people." He paused. "I also expect you to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. This job will challenge you in ways you can't anticipate. Are you prepared for that?" Lily considered his words carefully. The thought of stepping so far outside her comfort zone was terrifying, but there was also an undeniable thrill to the prospect. "I think so," she said finally. "I want to try, at least." "That's all I ask," he replied, standing. "Clara will continue your training for the rest of the week. You'll officially take over when she leaves at the end of the month." He extended his hand across the desk. "Welcome to Reynolds Enterprises, Lily." As she shook his hand, Lily felt a strange sense of destiny, as if her life had been building toward this moment. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Reynolds." Alexander, he corrected. But it's just us. Please call me Alexander. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of training, learning, and gradual immersion into the world of Reynolds Enterprises. Clara was a patient teacher, guiding Lily through the intricacies of Alexander's business empire and the nuances of managing his demanding schedule. Lily discovered that Reynolds Enterprises was far more than just a real estate company. Alexander had diversified into sustainable development projects, art investments, and charitable foundations. Each day brought new challenges and learning opportunities, from coordinating with international clients to preparing briefing documents on potential buyer investments. On her final day of training, Clara handed Lily a small gift box. A little welcome present, she explained with a smile. Inside, Lily found a beautiful leather-bound notebook, embossed with her initials. It's lovely, she said, touched by the gesture. Alexander has a million thoughts a day, Clara advised. You'll want to write them down before they slip away. Trust me on this. She patted her pregnant belly. I'm going to miss this place, but I'm leaving it in good hands. The following Monday, Lily arrived at the office early, determined to make a strong start on her first official day. She wore a new outfit purchased with her Advanza tailored navy pantsuit that made her feel more confident than her usual attire. She had just settled at her desk and begun reviewing Alexander's schedule when the man himself swept in, looking slightly harried. Good morning, Lily, he greeted her, pausing at her desk. I need to move my 10 a.m. with the development team to Thursday, and can you get me the files on the Riverside project? The city council meeting has been moved up, and I need to review the environmental impact assessments. Lily nodded, already typing notes. I'll reschedule the development meeting and have the Riverside files on your desk in 15 minutes. Would you like coffee? Alexander looked at her with a hint of surprise, as if he hadn't expected such immediate competence. Black. No sugar. Thank you. As the weeks passed, Lily gradually settled into her role. The work was demanding, often extending beyond traditional office hours. But she found herself thriving under the pressure. Alexander was exactly as Clara had described him, exacting but fair, demanding excellence, but equally committed to his own work. They fell into a comfortable routine, with Lily arriving early to prepare for the day, and Alexander often working late into the evening. 3 days a week, they worked from the office above Café Lumière, which Louis came to prefer for its more relaxed atmosphere. It was during these days at the café that Lily began to see glimpses of the man behind the businessman. Alexander would occasionally emerge from his office to browse the book library, selecting books that revealed eclectic tastes. He had a dry wit that surfaced in unexpected moments, and a genuine passion for architecture that became evident when he discussed building designs. One rainy afternoon, about 2 months into her new position, Lily was working at her desk when she heard Alexander curse softly from his office. She knocked tentatively on the open door. Is everything all right? He looked up from his computer, running a hand through his normally immaculate hair, leaving it slightly disheveled. The Anderson presentation. The design team sent the wrong renderings, and I need to present to the investors in 2 hours. Lily hesitated only briefly before saying, I can help. What do you need? Alexander blinked, then gestured to the chair across from his desk. Can you put together a slide deck while I try to get the correct renderings from the team? Nothing fancy, just the key points from this report. He slid a thick folder toward her. For the next hour and a half, they worked in focused tandem, Lily creating slides, while Alexander made calls and revised content. When they finally had a complete presentation, Alexander leaned back in his chair with a relieved sigh. Thank you, he said simply. That could have been a disaster. Lily smiled, feeling a warm glow of satisfaction. That's what I'm here for. He studied her for a moment, his blue eyes thoughtful. You know, when I hired you, I expected competence, but you've exceeded those expectations. The compliment made her cheeks warm. I'm just doing my job. No, he said, shaking his head. You're doing much more than that. You're anticipating needs before I articulate them. That's rare, Lily. The way he said her name, with a gentle emphasis on the first syllable, sent an unexpected shiver through her. She quickly changed the subject. You should probably leave soon if you want to arrive early for the meeting. Alexander glanced at his watch and nodded. You're right, as usual. He stood and gathered his materials. Will you be here when I return? Of course, Lily replied. I need to finish the quarterly reports. He paused at the door, briefcase in hand. Have dinner with me tonight, he said suddenly. To celebrate saving the Anderson deal. If we get it, of course. Lily froze, caught off guard by the invitation. Just dinner, he clarified, a hint of uncertainty crossing his face. As colleagues. To celebrate. She hesitated, then nodded. Okay. Yes. That would be nice. A smile curved his lips. Good. I'll see you later then. After he left, Lily sat at her desk, trying to process what had just happened. It was just a collegial dinner, she told herself firmly. Nothing more. Still, she couldn't help but feel a flutter of anticipation in her stomach. Alexander returned 3 hours later, a triumphant smile on his face. We got it, he announced, loosening his tie as he walked into the office. The investors were impressed with the presentation. We start construction next month. Lily smiled, genuinely pleased for him. Congratulations. Our congratulations, he corrected, setting his briefcase down. I couldn't have done it without your help today. He checked his watch. It's almost 7. Are you ready for dinner? A wave of nervousness washed over her. I should probably go home and change first. Alexander shook his head. You look perfect as you are. And I know a place nearby where the dress code isn't an issue. 20 minutes later, they were seated at a small table in the corner of an elegant Italian restaurant just a few blocks from the café. The lighting was dim, casting a warm glow over the white tablecloth and gleaming silverware. A candle flickered between them, highlighting the angles of Alexander's face. I've never been here before, Lily admitted, looking around at the tasteful decor. It's one of my favorites, Alexander said, accepting the wine list from the waiter. Small, family-owned, excellent food. No pretension. He glanced at her over the menu. Do you trust me to order for both of us? Normally, such a request might have made Lily uncomfortable, but she found herself nodding. Sure. Alexander ordered in fluent Italian, much to Lily's surprise. When the waiter departed, he caught her expression and smiled. I spent a year in Florence after college, he explained. Some of it stuck. You're full of surprises, Lily commented, taking a sip of the water. Says the woman who transformed from a shy bookstore employee to an essential executive assistant in less than 3 months. He countered, raising his glass in a small toast. Lily laughed softly. I'm still shy. I've just gotten better at hiding it. I don't think that's true, Alexander said, his expression turning thoughtful. I think you've always had this capability within you. You just needed the right environment to express it. Their conversation flowed easily, moving from work to books to travel. Lily found herself relaxing as the evening progressed, drawn out by Alexander's genuine interest in her thoughts and experiences. By the time dessert arrived, a delicate tiramisu, they shared. She had almost forgotten the professional nature of their relationship. Tell me something, Alexander said as he poured the last of the wine into their glasses. Are you happy at Reynolds Enterprises? The question caught Lily off guard. Yes, very, she answered honestly. It's challenging, but in a good way. I'm learning so much. He nodded, seemingly satisfied with her answer. And are you comfortable working with me? I know I can be demanding at times. You're exacting, Lily corrected. But fair. I always know where I stand with you, which I appreciate. She hesitated, then added, though sometimes I still wonder why you chose me. There must have been more qualified candidates. Alexander considered her for a long moment, the candlelight reflecting in his eyes. Qualifications are only part of the equation, Lily. I've worked with many technically proficient people who lacked something essential. He leaned forward slightly. You have integrity. And a kind of quiet strength that's rare. I saw it that first day in the cafe, even as you were mortified about spilling coffee on me. His words warmed her more than the wine had. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you. As they left the restaurant, the night air was crisp, stars visible despite the city lights. Alexander insisted on escorting Lily home, and they walked in companionable silence, their shoulders occasionally brushing. At the entrance to her apartment building, Lily turned to thank him for dinner, suddenly feeling awkward. "I had a really nice time tonight." "So did I," Alexander replied, his gaze holding hers. For a moment, he seemed about to say something more, but instead, he simply nodded. "Good night, Lily. I'll see you tomorrow." "Good night, Alexander," she murmured, watching as he walked away, his tall figure gradually disappearing into the night. Inside her apartment, Lily kicked off her shoes and sank onto her sofa, replaying the evening in her mind. It had felt less like a business dinner and more like a date. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. Alexander was her boss, and a deeply private, powerful man at that. She couldn't afford to confuse professional attention with personal interest. Yet as she prepared for bed, she couldn't help remembering the way his eyes had lingered on her face in the candlelight, or how attentively he had listened to her stories. For the first time in years, Lily fell asleep with a smile on her lips. The next day at the office above Café Lumière, Lily tried to maintain a strictly professional demeanor, afraid that any hint of her confused feelings might show on her face. Alexander, however, seemed completely at ease, treating her exactly as he always had, with respect and the occasional flash of dry humor. By mid-morning, Lily had convinced herself that she had imagined any personal undertones to their dinner. It had been a business celebration, nothing more. "Lily," Alexander called from his office. "Can you come in here for a moment?" She grabbed her notebook and hurried in, expecting a work-related request. Instead, she found him standing by the windows, gazing out at the street below. "Close the door, please," he said without turning. Lily complied, a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. "Is everything okay?" Alexander turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "I need to discuss something with you, and I want you to be completely honest with your response." She nodded, clutching her notebook tighter. "Of course." He took a deep breath. "I'm considering opening another cafe, similar to Lumière but in the Eastern District. It would require someone to oversee the project from start to finish, location scouting, design, hiring staff, everything." He paused. "I'd like you to take it on." Lily blinked in surprise. "Me? But I don't have any experience in that area." "You have excellent organizational skills, an eye for detail, and good instincts about people," Alexander countered. "You could continue your assistant duties while managing this project, with appropriate compensation for the additional responsibilities, of course." I'm flattered," Lily said, trying to gather her thoughts. "But why not assign it to someone from the development team?" Alexander moved closer, his gaze intent. "Because I trust you, Lily. I want someone who will care about this project as more than just another assignment." He hesitated. "And because I thought you might enjoy the creative aspects. It would be a change from your usual administrative work." His consideration touched her. "You thought about what I might enjoy?" A hint of color appeared on his cheekbones. "I pay attention to the people who are important to me." The words hung in the air between them, loaded with potential meaning. Lily's heart beat faster. "Important professionally?" Alexander met her eyes directly. "Not only professionally, no." Lily's breath caught. "Oh. I know this complicates our working relationship," he continued, his voice low. "If you're uncomfortable, please say so. Nothing needs to change at work." She searched his face, seeing genuine concern there. "I'm not uncomfortable," she said softly. "Just surprised." Relief flickered across his features. "Good. That's good." He cleared his throat. "About the cafe project, think about it. There's no rush to decide." "I will," Lily promised. "Thank you for the opportunity." As she returned to her desk, her mind whirled with the implications of their conversation. Alexander had all but admitted having personal feelings for her. The knowledge was both exhilarating and terrifying. Over the next few weeks, Lily immersed herself in research for the cafe project, finding that she genuinely enjoyed the creative planning process. She visited potential locations, studied successful cafe business models, and created detailed reports for Alexander's review. Their working relationship remained professional, but there was a new undercurrent of awareness between them. Sometimes, she would look up to find his eyes on her, a warmth in them that made her cheeks flush. Occasionally, their hands would brush as they reviewed documents together, sending a spark of electricity through her. Neither of them explicitly addressed what was developing between them, instead focusing on their shared work. They began having regular dinners to discuss the Café project, each one feeling less like a business meeting and more like a genuine date. One evening, about a month after Alexander had first mentioned the project, they were working late in the office above Café Lumière. The space was quiet, Maya having closed the café hours earlier. Rain pattered against the windows, creating a cozy atmosphere. Lily stood beside Alexander at his desk, both of them examining the architectural plans for the new café. "I think the seating should be arranged differently," she suggested, leaning over to point at the drawing. "More small tables, rather than the larger communal ones. The survey showed people prefer more privacy." Alexander nodded, his shoulder touching hers. "You're probably right. Make a note to discuss it with the designer tomorrow." Lily jotted it down in her ever-present notebook, acutely aware of his proximity. When she looked up, she found him watching her, an intensity in his gaze that made her pulse quicken. "Lily," he said quietly, "I think we need to talk about what's happening here." She set down her pen. "What do you mean?" "You know exactly what I mean," he replied, turning to face her fully. "There's something between us, something that goes beyond our professional relationship." Lily swallowed hard. "Yes," she admitted. "There is." Alexander reached out slowly, giving her time to step away if she wanted to, and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I've tried to be patient, to keep things professional, but I find myself thinking about you constantly." His touch sent a shiver through her. "I think about you too," she whispered. "This is complicated," he continued, his hand dropping back to his side. "I'm your employer. There's an imbalance of power that can't be ignored." "I know," Lily said. "But I'm not interested in you because you're my boss. If anything, that's made me more cautious." A small smile curved his lips. "Cautious isn't a bad thing. It's sensible." He took a deep breath. "If we were to explore this further, we would need to be discreet, and you would have to promise to tell me if you ever felt uncomfortable or pressured in any way." "I would," Lily assured him. "I'm not easily intimidated, you know. Not anymore." His smile widened. "I've noticed you've changed since that first day when you spilled coffee on me." "Not changed," she corrected. "Just found my footing." Alexander nodded. "Fair enough." He hesitated, then stepped closer. "I would very much like to kiss you right now, Lily Chen. Would that be all right?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Yes," she breathed. He cupped her face in his hands, his touch gentle as he lowered his mouth to hers. The kiss was soft at first, almost questioning, but deepened as Lily leaned into him, her hands coming to rest on his chest. When they finally broke apart, they were both slightly breathless. Alexander rested his forehead against hers. "I've been wanting to do that for weeks," he admitted. "Me too," Lily confessed, a small laugh escaping her. "Though I never imagined it would happen." He straightened, his expression turning serious. "We should take this slowly. Figure out what we both want from this." Lily nodded, appreciating his thoughtfulness. "I agree." They left the office together that night, walking hand in hand through the rain-washed streets to Lily's apartment. At her door, Alexander kissed her again, then bid her goodnight with a promise to call her the next day. As spring turned to summer, Lily and Alexander's relationship deepened, even as they kept it private from their colleagues. The Café project progressed smoothly, with Lily proving herself more than capable of managing the complex undertaking. At work, they maintained a professional distance, but evenings and weekends were spent discovering each other beyond their work personas. Lily learned that Alexander loved jazz music and sailing, that he volunteered at a youth center teaching business skills, and that, despite his wealth, he lived relatively simply in a converted warehouse apartment filled with books and art. He cooked for her sometimes, simple but delicious meals that they enjoyed on his rooftop terrace overlooking the city. Alexander, in turn, discovered Lily's passion for photography, her love of classic films, and her dream of someday writing a novel. He encouraged her interests, gifting her a vintage camera he found at an auction, and surprising her with tickets to a film festival featuring her favorite director. By late summer, the new cafe, which they had named Solstice, was nearing completion. Lily had overseen every aspect of its development, from hiring the manager and staff to selecting the menu items. The experience had been transformative, building her confidence and allowing her to discover talents she hadn't known she possessed. "You've done an amazing job," Alexander told her as they toured the space a week before the scheduled opening. The interior was warm and inviting, with copper accents, comfortable seating, and a small library corner that had been Lily's special project. "Thank you for trusting me with it," she replied, looking around with satisfaction. "I never would have believed I could do something like this a year ago." Alexander wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "I knew you could. From that first day when you took responsibility for spilling coffee on me, I knew there was something special about you." Lily laughed, leaning into him. "That was hardly my finest moment." "It was honest," he countered. "And brave, in its way. You could have disappeared and avoided me, but you offered to make it right." He kissed her temple. "That's when I started falling for you, though I didn't realize it at the time." The night before Solstice's grand opening, Alexander invited Lily to dinner at the same Italian restaurant where they had celebrated the Anderson deal months earlier. He seemed unusually nervous throughout the meal, checking his watch several times and occasionally losing the thread of conversation. "Is everything okay?" Lily finally asked as they finished their dessert. "You seem distracted." Alexander took a deep breath. "Everything's fine. Better than fine, actually." He reached across the table to take her hand. "Lily, these past months with you have been the happiest of my life. You've brought something to my world that I didn't even know was missing." Her heart skipped a beat at the sincerity in his voice. "You've changed my life too," she said softly, "given me confidence I never had before." "That was always in you," he insisted. "You just needed the right circumstances to bring it out." He squeezed her hand. "I have something for you, to celebrate tomorrow's opening." He withdrew a small box from his pocket and placed it on the table between them. It wasn't the size of a ring box, Lily noted with a mixture of relief and disappointment, but slightly larger. "Open it," Alexander encouraged. Inside, nestled on black velvet, was a key attached to a silver keychain shaped like a coffee cup. Lily looked up at him questioningly. "It's the key to my apartment," he explained. I want you to move in with me. If you want to, that is." Joy bubbled up inside her. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "I'd love to." His face lit up with a smile, more radiant than any she had seen before. "I was hoping you'd say that." He hesitated, then added, "There's something else I want to ask you, but it can wait until after the cafe opening." One life-changing event at a time. Lily raised an eyebrow. "Now you've made me curious." Alexander chuckled. "Patience, Ms. Chen. All will be revealed in due time." The grand opening of Café Solstice the next day was a resounding success. The space filled with customers who exclaimed over the unique atmosphere and excellent coffee. Lily moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations and ensuring everything ran smoothly. Alexander watched her proudly from a corner table, occasionally fielding questions from the business reporters who had been invited to cover the event. By late afternoon, as the initial rush began to taper off, he approached Lily as she checked inventory behind the counter. "It's a hit," he said, gesturing to the still bustling cafe. "You should be proud." "I am," she admitted, allowing herself to savor the accomplishment. "Though I'm also exhausted." He glanced at his watch. "Do you think you can slip away? There's something I want to show you." Curious, Lily handed over the clipboard to the cafe manager and followed Alexander out the back door. A car was waiting at the curb, the driver nodding respectfully as Alexander opened the door for Lily. "Where are we going?" she asked as they settled into the back seat. "You'll see," Alexander replied, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. 20 minutes later, the car pulled up in front of a charming brownstone in one of the city's most desirable neighborhoods. Alexander led Lily up the steps and produced a key. "What is this place?" Lily asked, confused. "A new property I've acquired," Alexander replied, unlocking the door. "I'd like your opinion on it." The interior was spacious and filled with natural light, featuring high ceilings, original woodwork, and modern updates that complemented the historical character. Alexander guided her through the rooms, watching her reactions closely. "It's beautiful," Lily said, as they completed the tour in what appeared to be a home office with built-in bookshelves lining one wall. "Are you planning to renovate it for resale?" Alexander shook his head. "No, this one isn't for Reynolds Enterprises." He took her hands in his. "It's for us." Lily's eyes widened. "What?" "I know we just agreed on you moving into my apartment," he said quickly. "But I thought, maybe we could start fresh together. In a place that would be ours from the beginning." He looked around the room. "There's space for your photography here, and a garden where we could have coffee in the mornings. And I thought this room to be your writing study, when you're ready to start that novel." Tears pricked at Lily's eyes. "You remembered," she whispered. "I remember everything about you, Lily," Alexander said, his voice tender. He reached into his pocket, and this time withdrew a small velvet box. Lily's breath caught as he lowered himself to one knee. "I had planned to wait longer before asking this," he said, his voice slightly unsteady. "But seeing you today, confident and radiant, I couldn't wait another moment." He opened the box to reveal a stunning emerald-cut diamond ring. "Lily Chen, would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife?" Joy, unlike anything she had ever experienced, flooded through Lily. "Yes," she answered without hesitation, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "Yes, Alexander. I will." His face broke into a smile of pure happiness as he slipped the ring onto her finger. When he stood and pulled her into his arms, their kiss was a promise of the future they would build together. From spilled coffee to this, Alexander murmured against her hair. "Who would have thought?" Lily laughed, her heart so full it felt it might burst. "I guess sometimes the biggest embarrassments can lead to the greatest happiness." "Indeed," Alexander agreed, kissing her again. "And I, for one, will be forever grateful that you weren't watching where you were going that morning." 1 year later, Lily stood in the private room above Café Lumiere, now transformed with flowers and twinkling lights for their wedding reception. Through the windows, she could see guests mingling in the café below, which had been closed to the public for the occasion. Maya approached, offering a glass of champagne. "Congratulations, Mrs. Reynolds," she said with a warm smile. "Everything is beautiful." "Thank you," Lily replied, accepting the drink. "And thank you for letting us have the reception here. It seemed fitting, given where it all began." "I wouldn't have had it anywhere else," Maya assured her. "Besides, Alexander owns the building, remember?" They both laughed, and Lily's gaze drifted to her husband, who was chatting with guests near the counter where she had spilled coffee on him that fateful morning. As if sensing her attention, he looked up, his blue eyes finding hers across the room. The love in his expression made her heart swell. "I still can't believe how my life has changed," Lily confessed to Maya. "Sometimes I think I'll wake up and discover it was all a dream." "Not a dream," Maya replied, following her gaze to Alexander. "Just a story with an unexpected beginning, and from what I can see, a very happy middle." She raised her glass in a toast. "To many more chapters." Lily smiled, thinking of the brownstone they now called home, the novel she had begun writing in her study overlooking the garden, and the man who had seen her potential when she couldn't see it herself. "To many more chapters," she agreed. As the evening progressed, Alexander found his way to her side, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Happy?" he asked, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Completely," Lily assured him, leaning into his embrace. "Though I still think we should tell people we met at a business meeting. The coffee-spilling story is mortifying." Alexander laughed, the sound rich and warm. "Never. It's my favorite story. The day that shy girl spilled coffee on a stranger, not knowing he was the millionaire owner of the cafe." He brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Or that he was falling in love with her at first sight." "You weren't falling in love," Lily protested. "You were annoyed about your ruined shirt." "That too," he conceded with a grin. "But mostly, I was intrigued by the beautiful woman who was so adorably flustered and yet determined to make things right." His expression softened. "Little did I know She would make everything in my life right. As he leaned down to kiss her, surrounded by friends and family in the place where their story began, Lily reflected on how a single moment of embarrassment had led to a lifetime of happiness. Sometimes, she thought, the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful journeys. And in the case of a shy girl with a spilled coffee and the cafe owner who saw something special in her, it had led to the greatest love story either could have imagined.